Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
6:07. Thanks for tuning in here to O'Connor and Company and getting your day started the right way. We appreciate it. Thanks for letting us be a part of your morning routine. Things are busy. It's holiday season.
Yes,
Is this
they are.
School's out next week, right? Or
It is. It is a mad dash for the next week for parties and Christmas plays and all that stuff.
Oh my gosh, I love this time of year. Are your kids doing one of those Christmas concerts where they have to put on fake reindeer antlers and sing carols and stuff?
Thank God, no. But I'm the room parent, so I've got to organize the parents for gifts for the teacher and da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
Well, I'm glad you carved out some time this morning for us. Although, honestly, compared to that, this is like a day at the spa. 7:05. Alex Sawyer will join us from the Washington Times, talk about the arguments in front of the Supreme Court this week. 8:05. Andrew Kerr has an investigative report on Wes Moore that Wes Moore is not very happy about. And then at 8:35, Brian Darling, formerly of Rand Paul's office, he'll give us his insights into that Obamacare discussion we just had. That's Patrice Onwuka. Good morning, Patrice.
Good morning. Happy Friday, everybody.
Amen. And we're getting the countdown every Friday. This is the second to last Friday before.
Oh my gosh.
Christmas.
And next week is pretty much when you got to get everything in the mail. Otherwise, forget it. It's not going to be there in time.
Yeah, no, Meredith's deadline, because we have to send a lot of stuff out this year. Her deadline, self-imposed, is tomorrow.
Oh, wow.
And we got most everything out.
That's good.
Yesterday was the first day where the accused assassin of Charlie Kirk actually made an in-person appearance in court. Up until now, all of his court dates have been handled via video connection. Tyler Robinson, 22 years old, who is the suspect in the assassination of Charlie Kirk from September 10th, was there with his attorneys. I have to say, it was maddening to watch him. He was, smiling, chuckling, smarmy, gross, disgusting, giggling with his lawyers. My friend Jack Posobiec, who runs Human Events and was a friend of Charlie's and appeared on Charlie's show and in Turning Point USA events on a regular basis. He watched these hearings yesterday and detailed the evidence that was laid out there against the assassin. And anybody who dabbles in some of the conspiracy theories out there that in some way Tyler Robinson wasn't really the guy on the roof with the gun, we'll take a listen to this. Here's what Jack laid out. The case against Tyler Robinson is straightforward. They pulled his DNA off the actual Mauser 98 itself, the trigger, the bolt handle, everywhere you'd touch it if you were working the action, plus the towel he used as a cheek rest, the screwdriver he left behind on the roof, and even inside the spent casing that popped out after he pulled the trigger. And by the way, there are some people who watch certain podcasts out there who love to just find conspiracies, who will hear all of that and say, oh, well, see, that they went overboard planting the DNA on all of that stuff. That's exactly what they want you to think. It's like there's just no winning.
Goodness.
There's just no winning.
It's like, just stop.
We're talking a 1 in billions of trillions match, the kind of number that makes the wrong guy mathematically impossible. On top of that, the state crime lab will need to confirm in court the bullet that killed Charlie has the exact same rifling marks as test rounds fired through that specific Mauser. So unless someone wants to claim the Utah prosecutors are dumb enough to fake world-class DNA and ballistics evidence in the most watched case of the decade, knowing any decent defense team can send it all to an independent lab and blow the whole thing up in 5 minutes flat, getting them disbarred and the case tossed, Tyler Robinson is the guy who climbed on that roof and shot Charlie Kirk. Meanwhile, Jonathan Turley yesterday on Fox News assessed the evidence that was laid out. Take a listen, cut 5.
Okay, here with us is Jonathan Turley, Fox News contributor, George Washington University law professor. Now, Jonathan, the judge allowed the cameras in the court just for today, for this preliminary, conversation, deliberation on this, move the public out as they were talking about the concerns of both parties. But I have a question. Given the fact that this is fairly well-established judicial, discretion and standards of discretion, why on earth is this taking until February to decide this one issue?
Well, this is a very deliberative judge, and I've been impressed with him overall. He's He's, I think, handling the case well. It is not moving at a clip that one would hope for. It's definitely going a bit slower. But I think that reflects the fact that this judge wants to be very cautious. You know, the fact is, this is a case with overwhelming evidence. I mean, the prosecutors could probably lose 90% of this evidence in a suppression hearing and still secure an easy conviction. He has a presumption of innocence, but the evidence here you can't ignore. It's just the strongest I've ever seen in a case. So the real concern for the court is not just he has to protect the rights of the defendant, which is the primary concern on these questions, but also he doesn't want to commit reversible error because that tends to victimize the family again because they have to go through this again. So he's being very, very cautious. He's moving a bit slower, but it's a deliberative pace.
Well, there you go. And there's so much evidence, he said, that even if they do throw 90% of it out, they still have enough to convict. So is this going to silence a lot of the people who believe that there's some sort of, it was an inside job or the FBI killed him or something stupid like that?
No, because obviously they're not motivated by truth. They're motivated by money. And so, if they can find, even in the reporting yesterday or the analysis of the facts of the case, if they can find even a little sliver, a little crack where they can slither into and create a little bit of doubt, they're going to do it. What's been really effective, though, has been Erica Kirk doing, some of the media circuit, particularly in the conservative outlets, saying, listen, stop what you're doing to my family, what you're doing to me, to my team, coming up with these conspiracy theories for no other reason than your own personal gain is disgusting. And she's been pretty effective at that. So I really applaud her because it takes a lot of guts to go out there and push back on what some of these podcasters are doing right now.
Yeah, that's
while
a great
you're
point.
Grieving,
And by the way, Erica Kirk, when she says, stop, who she's talking about is Candace Owens, of course. Owens,
of course.
who used to work at Turning Point USA, had been in Charlie Kirk's inner circle there years ago before he fired her, basically, but he was nice about it and didn't make it look like a firing the way it happened at Daily Wire. Candace Owens has always said, if Erica Kirk, I'm going to keep exploring these issues, and only two people can stop me from continuing this. And that, well, here, I want you to listen to Candace in her own words.
No one, and I mean absolutely no one, outside of my husband and Erica Kirk has the power to shut me up right now. That's it. There's nobody that has the capacity to get me to shut up about this except for Erica Kirk. And I will say this, I am on this journey to figure out what happened on that day. I'm not going to stop unless Erica Kirk asks me to stop. I said early on, if Erica Kirk asks me to be quiet, I will be quiet.
But when you go after...
All right. And so that's what she said
right.
on multiple occasions.
She's lying.
So now what did Erica Kirk say on Wednesday of this week?
My family, my Turning Point USA family, my Charlie Kirk Show family, when you go after the people that I love and you're making hundreds and thousands of dollars every single episode, but this is not okay.
It's a no from me, but you know me. I'm just out here saying what needs to be said. We'll be right back.
There you go. So her response is, no, I'm not going to stop. But I thought if Erica Kirk told you to stop, you would stop, and she's not going to stop because, well, I guess it's too lucrative or the... Stop
making money off of this? Stop getting your names in headlines off of this? No, she's not going to stop. I don't know if it's necessarily
the money. There's a lot going on with Candace, and I think it's more than just the money. I don't think it's the money. I think she gets... You know what? We'll explore it in a second. And also, by the way, we've got some amazing news for those of you who support Charlie Kirk and Charlie's family in Turning Point USA and were devastated by his death. There is some great news, actually, this week with regard to his book, his last book that he wrote before his murder. We'll give you that in a moment and maybe explore as much as we can, the psychology involved in what Candace Owens is doing here in a moment.
WMAL, making sense of the news. Live from the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios. Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
Patrice, I've been fortunate enough to have sort of two parallel careers for the last 15 years. This one here on WMAL in broadcasting on a radio
Yes.
station owned by a responsible corporation and under the auspices of regular broadcast standards and the FCC and Nielsen ratings and advertising demands and things like that. And it sort of compels you to deliver news and information and political content and analysis in such a way that you are able to communicate those ideas without crossing certain lines
Yes.
of propriety, lines of there are lots of lines out there with regard to propriety, profanity, but also, speculating on things like, a conspiracy theory involving the FBI and the state of Israel and Brigitte Macron and Charlie Kirk, right? And it's like, listen, there is a space for that, I guess, in the media, but most of that stuff lives outside of the confines of what we do here on our radio station. And we've been reluctant to talk about this whole Charlie Kirk thing and all this other stuff. But when Erica Kirk came out this week, I felt like, okay, because I didn't want to draw too much attention to it. But if Erica Kirk is going to actually personally draw attention to it, then I think that we're not, violating Charlie's memory by drawing attention to it as well. Now, I've also, in my other parallel career, I've lived and died on clicks and on downloads. I've worked from the first day I came into this world with Andrew Breitbart. And for a while there, all of my performance was based on clicks and downloads and page views.
Oh, wow.
All of your money that you make is derived on that. And when you're in that world, like Candace is, like other people are, like Nick Fuentes, and Tucker Carlson is in that world now. Tucker Carlson's business model is based on how many downloads and clicks and attention you can get via internet. That's it. If you don't get them, you don't make your money. If you do get them, you make a ton of money. But beyond the monetary aspect of it, I can tell you firsthand, and Andrew Breitbart fell into this sometimes, and Matt Drudge and everybody, you start to get addicted to those numbers. They're in real time. You can watch it on a graph on your screen. When you post something, when you upload an episode, when all of that, you can see the response from people in real time. It's just like getting likes on a post on Instagram. You do that. Kids do it, right? You post something and you wait to see the comments and you wait to see the likes. And if it takes off and you get this rush, it's a chemical rush inside your body. And I think that's partly what's going on here. I think Candace is getting off on this. I think she thrives chemically. There's something going on in her brain that is feeding that beast, and I don't think she can stop it. I think it's an addiction, and I pray for her too, even though what I think she's doing right now is just absolutely hurtful, evil, and needs to be stopped.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's that deep, but maybe it is. I just think
You just think it's
I
money.
think that she. Yes, there is that chemical reaction of getting those likes. But I really do think that she has carved out for herself. She has had to carve out for herself a unique space. And, because she's burned so many bridges with Turning Point USA, with Daily Wire, with other outlets. You don't see her appear as a guest on other cable programs or even obviously network programs. She doesn't have room there. So, and those are, you're talking about platforms with millions and millions of viewers. And so it is hard for her. And so I really do think that I don't know if she believes everything she's doing, but I know that she is motivated to keep doing and digging deeper and drawing people in with this, with these over the top outrageous investigations. It reminds me of, man, there was I'm not. There in the past, you've seen these provocateurs, people who have these investigations, kind of like Geraldo.
Or Oliver Stone, for that matter. I mean,
Oliver Stone. Exactly.
Oliver Stone was sort of the original sin here with all of the questions about the JFK assassination. There are still people who will never be convinced that John F. Kennedy was killed by Lee Harvey Oswald.
And they're doing it, whether it's profit motive, personal vendettas, whatever the case is. Yeah. And I think Candace had a weird kind of situation with
there's
in her mind. That's my personal
So you
opinion.
think, all right, look, we can go there.
I think
so
it's personal, and I think it's
you think
motive.
that she had a love interest with Charlie Kirk.
You never know.
And
we will
you
not
see
know.
you see old videos of the two of them, and she certainly seems pretty flirty with him. Then he got engaged to Erica Kirk. Within weeks, she was married to this guy that she had just met, George Farmer, and as she left Turning Point. Yeah, I think that I think it's complex. I think it's definitely complex.
To say the least.
That said, Erica Kirk has been incredible this week in having to deal with her grief, dealing with her children, running Turning Point USA, and selling her husband's book. He wrote a book before he died, and it was released on Tuesday, and I am happy to tell you it is on fire.
Love
apparently,
it. Oh, man,
Stop
that's
in the
amazing.
Name of God, Charlie Kirk's book. It's a huge bestseller. It's now temporarily out of stock on Amazon. They're rushing to print more copies of it. They literally cannot keep it on the shelves. And finally, there's this. Nancy Mace, Congresswoman from South Carolina. She has an idea right here in Washington, D.C., a way for Washington to honor Charlie Kirk. Here's cut 6. Take a listen.
South Carolina Republican Congresswoman Nancy Mace wants to rename the area once known as Black Lives Matter Plaza in D.C. to the Charlie Kirk Freedom of Speech Plaza. She introduced the legislation yesterday to add official street signs and update federal maps and records, metro signs as well.
Thank you, Steve Chevney at Fox 5. What do you think, Patrice? You think that'll go over?
Even if I like the idea, no way.
It's 6:24.
All right, coming up, there is a new scandal involving Maryland's Governor Wes Moore. Has something to do with his education. Stay with us. It's O'Connor and Company at 6:30.
WMAL-FM, Woodbridge, Washington, a Cumulus media station. Making sense of the news. News Talk 105.9. WMAL. News now. Now on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
Good Friday morning to you. 6:37 now as we get you up and out and on your way to work, to school, or to last-minute Christmas duties. Coming up at 7:05, Alex Sawyer from the Washington Times will join us. Look back at this week's Supreme Court docket. 8:05, we'll talk to Andrew Kerr, investigative reporter at the Washington Free Beacon, about a investigation into Wes Moore and his background and discrepancies in his resume. We're going to get into those details in a moment, so stay right here just seconds from now. Brian Darling will join us at 8:35, talk about the battle over health care. It's Patrice Onwuka over there with me, Larry O'Connor. Good morning, Patrice.
Good morning. Happy Friday, Larry.
I appreciate that. Wes Moore is the governor of Maryland, and no one can dispute his sterling, almost golden resume that he brought to the table. It's what got a lot of people to take him seriously as a contender for governor, and many people taking him very seriously as a contender for the Democrat nomination for president. He's running for re-election now, and we already sort of spent a lot of time on the question of his Bronze Star and his declaration that he had obtained a Bronze Star in his 1 year of effort deployed to Afghanistan. Then there was some confusion over the timing of the Bronze Star, and even though he had claimed to have gotten the Bronze Star publicly, he had never actually received the Bronze Star, and then retroactively he got that Bronze Star, and now you're not allowed to point out the fact that it appeared as though he claimed to have a Bronze Star even though he didn't have a Bronze Star. Okay, set that aside for a moment. What about his educational resume? He really burst onto the scene at the age of 27 years old when the Bush administration granted him a White House fellowship. At the time, he was described, partly by himself and others, as a foremost expert on radical Islam, thanks to his academic work at Oxford University as a Rhodes Scholar. He wrote a paper at the time describing the rise of radical Islam in the Western Hemisphere. Now, remember that title because there's some confusion over that, because the name of that paper seems to have changed over the years.
Oh, interesting.
He also claimed at the time that he had applied for and was going to begin the doctorate program at Oxford, but now there's no record of that at all, even though the White House at the time sort of made that part of the announcement of who he was and what he was doing. There's a lot to unpack here, and there's a lot of timeline discrepancies, too. For example, if you look at the records There's conflicting dates. He completed and received his Oxford degree. His application, his resume, and Oxford's own degree confirmation all list different years, either 2003, 2004, or 2005, but none of them are consistent. Also, the thesis that Moore wrote while at Oxford can't be located at the university's library. Part of being a Rhodes Scholar is you do this thesis, and then it becomes part of the library at Oxford, the Bodleian Library. It's not there. And Oxford has told reporters that he never submitted it. But Moore and his team say that's not true. We did submit it. It also shows that there's no evidence that he ever enrolled as a doctoral student at Oxford. But he says on the application for his fellowship to the White House that he did, in fact, he was, in fact, planning, enrolled in and was about to begin a doctoral program. This is all part of a pattern, though, of exaggerations to be as generous as possible, if not outright falsehoods about Wes Moore's background and his resume. So, I mean, there's more to this, but let me just pause there and let you reflect on it. Because this is your governor, Patrice.
It is my governor, yours too. No, I mean, I think there's something weird going on here. According to him, by November 2005 is when he completed his master's studies, but that by that point he was serving in Afghanistan, and he had already been working in London for Deutsche Bank a year prior. It's very strange. Now, I do understand sometimes people who in their mind want to pursue a doctoral degree, but they ending up with a master's, 2 years of completed study with a research paper delivered. But that said, this should be catching up to him. This should be his political career should really be in jeopardy if people start to question, well, you lied about your degrees, you lied about your whether or not you even produced a paper that would make you the kind of scholar that should earn you a presidential fellowship.
Right.
There's so much, and not to mention your own, the lying or questions about the military record that you had and how, whether you got the accolades that you claim you did. And
That's
so
right.
He absolutely padded his resume, but the question is, are people holding him accountable for it? And thankfully, we've got this great Washington Free Beacon article here talking about it, but not enough people are talking about it, right?
It just hit yesterday, so let's see. But Andrew Kerr, the journalist who broke this story and did the investigative work for Free Beacon, he'll be joining us later in the program at 8:05, I believe. Is it 8:05 when we got Andrew? Yeah. But let me just go back to the title of this paper, a paper that Oxford doesn't have, by the way. And the title of the paper, as I said, was The Rise of Radical Islam in the Western Hemisphere. Well, rise and ramifications of radical Islam in the Western Hemisphere. But according to the Oxford certificate that they still have, that they drafted as part of the Rhodes Scholar program, the title of the thesis that he was working on was called Radical Islam in Latin America in the late 20th century and its Middle Eastern roots. Now you may say, well, what's the big deal? Well, there is a big deal here because the reference to Latin America has been removed. Why is that important? Well, at the time that the Bush administration was looking for this fellowship, they saw Latin America as sort of incidental in the war on terror. Okay. So it would not make you as an attractive candidate for that fellowship because your focus was Latin America, right? Mm-hmm. But when you change it to be the Western Hemisphere, oh, well, all right, thank you. That's what we need. And then he got his fellowship, which launched his career with the Bush administration. And whether Mark Halperin, journalist who praised this article yesterday, he said, boy, if the New York Times had done this fair and this thorough of an investigation, it would be getting a lot more attention. You're right, Patrice. But then he said, listen, use your critical thinking skills and think for a second on this paper because the thesis is missing. Oxford doesn't have the thesis. And when asked, Wes Moore and his team said, yeah, we don't have this thesis. So ask yourself this. If you wrote a thesis at Oxford as a Rhodes Scholar, and that thesis made you the foremost expert in the world on a certain topic, which is what Wes Moore claimed he was at the time, would you still have a copy of that thesis?
Yes.
Of course you would.
Yes, you probably have it in a bound book and kind of publish it yourself. Interestingly, there are other prominent, probably more prominent scholars in this region who all have said, listen, we've never heard of Wes Moore in this context about his scholarly work. You've got Lorenzo Vidino, director of the program of extremism at GW, a former CIA case officer, also saying the same thing. So, I mean, listen, I understand that people sometimes feel like for a very prominent fellowship or opportunity, they want to make themselves sound like they are, really important and that they deserve this opportunity. But that doesn't give you the license to lie. It does not. And you think it's never going to catch up to you, but hello, Wes Moore, it is catching up right now.
Yeah, just in time for his re-election campaign and potentially his campaign for president. All right, a couple of people, one person at Oxford has replied to this. We'll give you that in a moment and a little bit more about the missing thesis and why, if he completed his program at Oxford, why Oxford doesn't have a copy of this brilliant tome that made Wes Moore the foremost expert in the world on radical Islam in the Western Hemisphere. We'll get to that in a moment. First, though, at 6:45 WMAL. And so we continue with this expose at the Washington Free Beacon. Andrew Carr, who will join us at 8:05 to talk about this story. Wes Moore, there's a lot of questions here, lots of confusion. We don't know whether he completed his degree over there at Oxford or not. We don't know if he really was enrolled to be a doctorate student there at Oxford before he got this fellowship. We don't know. What we do know is that Oxford has no record of him registering to be a doctor. And it's not like this was a long time ago. We're talking about, 20 years.
2004, right? 2003, 2005, less than 20 years.
We don't know if he finished this thesis, but we know that Oxford doesn't have it. And at the Oxford Library, the senior librarian said, we don't have it because he never submitted it. And we also are confused by the title of it because Oxford claims that the title was supposed to be The Rise of Radical Islam in Latin America. But according to the White House and Wes Moore, it's Rise of Radical Islam in the Western Hemisphere. And when asked for a copy of the thesis, the Moore people said, we don't have it. And Wes Moore says he doesn't have it. All of this is confusing and conflicting and, frankly, rather disturbing, to tell you the truth. Now, here comes a spokesperson, one person who has spoken out about this, a spokeswoman for Oxford. Her name is Julia Paolillo. She's also a major donor. She's an American, and she's a major donor to the Democrat Party.
Oh, okay.
Just
so she's running cover for him.
Just a coincidence. She put out a statement and said, to state that there is a missing thesis to suggest he didn't complete his degree is incorrect. Well, of course, I just said nobody suggested he didn't complete his degree. What we said was we can't find the thesis, right? So already she's beginning her denial by putting up a straw man to suggest that he didn't complete his degree. No one suggests he didn't complete his degree. All right, number one. Number two, it's not material to his degree status whether or not he submitted his thesis to the library. It's completely and categorically false to assert that Mr. Moore never completed his degree on the basis that the Bodleian Library does not have a copy. All right, so Free Beacon responded to that and said Moore's graduate thesis is in fact missing, and the Free Beacon never suggested he didn't complete his degree. Oddly, Paolillo did not address Moore's claim to have been enrolled as a doctoral student at Oxford and has not provided the name of his academic advisor for that doctoral degree. According to Lincoln, Paolillo is a graduate of Yale, where she was Phi Beta Kappa, first election, graduated summa cum laude. I bet they'll look into these claims too, and served as commencement marshal for Brantford College. In the event of any confusion, Paolillo notes that means she was college valedictorian. She's also a major donor and an active commentator on American politics. She defended former President Joe Biden's mental acuity in February of 2024. So you know that she's a good, reliable.
She's a good party loyalist.
Reliable witness to facts at hand when she says that Joe Biden absolutely had no problem with his mental acuity. So there you go. We'll see. I mean, you may think this is a nothing burger, but it's certainly a pattern of behavior, Patrice.
And it certainly builds. It certainly builds. Hey, Larry, we have this in our show prep, but did you see this photo of Kim Kardashian and Wes Moore touching? I mean, their nameplates touching?
Touching what?
apparently they were together, and there have been photos of them sitting together outdoors, smiling and holding hands in a friendly gesture. And we have an image of their name cards side by side. So they've been out at some sort of a event here.
Yeah.
I mean, is this the beginning of something, or am I just making too much of it?
Dare you? They're both happily married, and Kim Kardashian would never. Kim Kardashian respects marriage and loving.
She doesn't like a high-profile black man, really.
That's right. But you're right. They're definitely the name tags are touching each other in this photo, and they've been positioned in such a way that Kim's on top. It's 6:53.